All right, it is April 21st, 2022. Welcome to the Town of Sherborn Select Board meeting. It is right about 6:30. We will open this meeting in open session, go immediately into executive session, and then back into the remainder of the open session for the remainder of the meeting. I would like to ask the town administrator to please read just the executive session portion of the agenda, please.
Good evening, everybody. There are 4 items to be discussed tonight, and item number 1 is a strategy session to prepare for contract negotiations with non-union bargaining employee pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus Dcam 449 Mass 444, parentheses 2007, and to conduct said contract negotiations with non-bargaining employee pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2 for the DPW director. Item number 2 is to meet with town council to discuss a complaint letter dated August 16th, 2021 from Jonathan Hudson Walker and Lisa Hudson Walker of Silverwood Farm LLC and potential litigation against the Conservation Commission and the status of consultants review and report pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 1, 3, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus Dcam 449 Mass 444, parentheses 2007. Item number 3 is meeting with town council in executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, 6, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus Dcam 449 Mass 444, parentheses 2007, to discuss 31 Hunting Lane, 41 North Main Street, Igor, Lebowski, et al. Versus the town of Sherman, Land Court number 21, MISC PS 000193, parentheses HPS, and 31 Hunting Lane LLC versus Sherborn Board of Appeals, Housing Appeals Committee number 2021-05, and 41 North Main Street LLC versus Sherborn Board of Appeals, Housing Appeals Committee number 2021-06. Item number 4 is to discuss strategy with respect to threatened potential litigation if the chair so declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the select board and the town, and the chair does so declare, to discuss the town library pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus Dcam 449 Mass 444, parentheses 2007. You'll need a second and a roll call vote.
Thank you much, Diane. Now, do I have any amendments to the agenda before we'll go into executive session? Okay. As chair, I declare an executive session is warranted for the agenda items as just read by the town administrator. And I move that we go into an executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Marianne? That's an aye, I think. George?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
I'm also aye. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll hopefully be out. I'm going to speculate a little bit after 7 o'clock for open session. Okay. Looks like everyone's here. Everyone's out of the waiting room. Okay, thank you. That was a pretty thorough executive session there. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience. Okay, we have a pretty light open session, so hopefully, people didn't miss too much, and this will flow pretty well. All right, it is 7:50 on April 21st, 2022. Welcome to the open session component of the Town of Sherborn Select Board meeting. I'd like to ask the town administrator to please read the remaining part of the agenda for the open session, please. And the town administrator is muted.
Good evening. After I read the agenda, the select board can vote to amend or approve the agenda. There'll be a public comment section, which at this point, I haven't received anything from anybody that says they have a public comment. Items can be taken out of order and topics not anticipated 24 hours in advance may be added. Item number 1 is the consent agenda, which is the payroll warrant for the interim town administrator. Next scheduled meeting date was April 26th at the annual town meeting, April 28th, second night if needed, and a regular scheduled meeting of the select board on May 5th. I also have a 1-day liquor license for Pauline Bounds. Item number 2 is the consideration of voting to reissue the library building project state grant anticipation note. And Heidi Doyle, the town treasurer, is here for that. Then we have a couple of appointments, and that is the assistant treasurer as requested by the town treasurer, which will be for Elizabeth Lassie. Farm Pond Advisory Committee as requested by the chair, Catherine Rocchio, and that is for Dale Yarborough. He will go from an associate member to a full voting member to expire on June 15th, 2025. And then consideration of an Eagle proclamation for Ethan Lynch. Item number 4 is town meeting prep. And that time the board can discuss the various warrant articles. And if there's a select board member that would like to speak on one specific article as it comes up during town meeting, they can discuss that tonight. And then routine business, which is the select board reports and interim town administrator reports. So I do have an amendment to add consideration of signing the warrant for the annual town election for the town clerk. That's her request. And Jeff, did you have an amendment as well?
Yes, I do. I would like to, we got a letter from the planning board from Chris Owen. And so it's under really on the agenda, the town meeting prep, but I would like to discuss Article 23 again, and even to the extent of us considering revoting Article 23, which is the home rule petition. And we received what I thought was a good letter. So I would propose that I think it's in the 4 corners of the intent of the item 4 on the agenda, but I just wanted to mention it.
I think both these items, both your and Diane's amendments are within that. So that's reasonably consistent. So people concerned with town meeting would show up. So I think that's reasonably consistent with the 48 hours. All right, do I have a motion relative to the agenda and proposed amendments to the agenda?
I would move approval as amended.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, Jeff,
All right,
Mary Ann,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
and Paul?
Aye.
Okay, I am as well. Thank you very much. So no public comment. Without that, moving on to agenda item number 1, consent agenda. Any motions or amendments relative to the consent agenda?
Move approval.
All
second.
right. Motion and a second. All in favor, Jeff,
All right,
Mary Ann,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
and Paul?
Aye.
I am also aye. Okay.
one other thought, Eric, we added the election warrant, but we didn't say where. So
Oh, yeah.
I propose we just do it first, it'll be quick.
I was going to make it all on an item number 4 because, like you said, it's
Okay.
within the 4 corners of that.
All right,
And so I
that
think
makes, yeah,
yeah,
all
on the
right,
town meeting prep, so anyone who attends can actually, like, it's consistent with their attendance.
good point.
Okay, so with that, agenda item number 2, consideration of voting to reissue library building project state grant anticipation note. Heidi Doyle. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, good evening. So this is asking for the select board to vote to go out to bid for the library building project to issue the grant anticipation note for another year, but it will be for half the amount. We did receive half of the payment from the state library grant program, and this is for $363,360.
Okay, any questions or motions relative to the GAN?
Move approval.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Jeff,
All right,
Mary Ann,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
I am also aye. Very good. Thank you very much,
Thank
Heidi.
you. Thank you.
Okay, number 3, consideration of appointments and a proclamation. Looks like we have 2 appointments and 1 proclamation. Do I have any questions, discussion, or amendments relative to this?
I would actually just move that we approve all 3, the assistant treasurer appointment, the farm pond advisory appointment, and the Eagle proclamation, unless there's discussion needed. I would just move that we approve all three
Now,
appointments.
the one thing we often do
Second.
in these circumstances, we read the proclamations out loud. I can do that, or Jeff, do you want to do that? Just being kind of very associated with the Boy Scouts.
I don't have it in front of me, so if you have it in front of me, why don't you? We've already actually all signed it also.
Yeah,
We have actually signed it.
and he's, I mean, I don't think, like, maybe they can watch the recording. I'm saying they're not even here, so.
It is. It's relatively short, though, and it's for the record. And I
Yeah,
think it'd be,
yeah.
it'd be reasonable to push a short meeting. Heidi, do you have anything you want to add before I read the proclamation?
Yes, under my appointment, if I could also get a vote for the select board to either sign the letter saying that you voted this, or maybe assign Diane to sign on your behalf. But just for the clerk's record, because of this statutory appointment, I need to have a record.
So Jeff, I believe, was yours an official motion, Jeff? You said?
It wasn't seconded. Yes, it was official motion,
seconded
but
it.
did you second it?
Yep.
We didn't vote, I don't think, did we?
We accept a
Yeah.
friendly amendment to basically authorize the town administrator to actually execute accordingly.
I
Okay.
agree.
Okay, I'll read this quickly. So whereas Ethan Lynch has earned the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas this accomplishment symbolizes his creative examples of service, strong leadership, and organizational skills which have made a difference in our community, and whereas Ethan has demonstrated his ability to set a goal and exhibited a personal desire and tenacity to follow through successfully. Now and therefore, we, the select board of the town of Sherborn, on behalf of its citizens, extend their congratulations and best wishes on this occasion of the Eagle Scouts Award ceremony. In witness thereof, we have caused the seal of the town to be affixed to this proclamation on the 21st day of April in the year 2022. And it's all signed by all of us.
He's also a superstar pitcher on the baseball team. He's pretty,
Is
he's
he
a
really?
pretty good kid, yeah.
Very good. Okay, so I have a motion and a second for approval of these with a friendly amendment. All in favor, Jeff,
All right,
Mary Ann,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
and Paul.
Aye.
I might as well. Very good. Okay, so now we have agenda item number 4, town meeting prep. We have the various warrant articles that select board members will speak on at town meeting. And then we have the requested changes for the, what is it, Diane, to signing a town meeting, and then to reconsider a vote for, I believe it's a citizen's petition for the paving of Rockwood Drive, if I understand that's successful.
Correct. That's the warrant for the annual town election.
No, the reconsideration was on the article,
And Article 23, reconsideration.
not Rockwood.
Yes.
it's the home rule. George is right.
Home rule petition, right.
Oh, is it? Okay, I misunderstood that.
Yeah,
Because,
No, it had nothing to do with Rockwood.
yeah,
okay, so just so you know, 'cause it might come in the 4 corners of this, we took a vote here on the board, whether to support Rockwood Drive or not. I can't remember what number it is. And 2 of us abstained based on not having a hearing by the planning board. The planning board has since held that hearing. And someone remind me, they voted what, 4-0, I believe, not to support the Rockwood Drive citizens petition. I don't know if it's
sure
within-
that's the Rockwood one? I thought they were having the public hearing on the one that Rebecca Honeywell proposed.
I'm sorry, it was, yep.
It's not the Rockwood one. It was the
Nope, you're
one
right.
where
It was,
it's the zoning related,
I had mixed the two
water
up.
related one that it
Zoning.
is the other citizens petition, which was
Okay.
unanimously rejected by the Board of Health and Planning Board.
and planning board, and how they fish here, I don't know why, I'm. it's too
Yeah.
many.
No worries.
And correct, and they did, because I attended the hearing,
Yep.
and it was unanimously rejected.
Yeah.
So Jeff, just confirm, that's what the letter is from Chris Owen?
So we're
Okay.
mixing things up here. Why don't we do the first thing with Jackie and approve the election warrant?
Okay,
Can we
So
do
moved.
that? Second.
all in favor, Jeff,
All right.
Marianne,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I am also aye. All right, let me hand the discussion
I-
over to, let me hear from Jackie, and then hand it, obviously Jackie's gonna say something, we voted wrong somehow, but let me hear,
No, you.
let me hear from you.
Unless you
I'll
guys
hand it
want
to
to,
you after that.
sorry, unless you
Okay.
want to come into town hall, you need to vote to allow Diane to sign the warrant for you.
So moved.
Anyone
Second.
second? All in favor, Jeff,
All right.
Marianne,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Okay, very good. I am as well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm gonna hand the reins over to you on the planning board one, Jeff. I tried to kind of jump in there unsuccessfully. You take the lead on this one here, just kind of the letter and so on like that.
Well, we have a letter from Chris Owen. What he's basically saying on the home rule petition, which is Article 23, I can read it if we want to, but the issue is, it's the one where they were going to have us make, Paul knows a lot about it, where we were going to have to build 850 new houses in town or whatever the thing is. That his point is it doesn't really go into effect right away, and we should not object to it right now because we don't need to. We can always do that in the future. So I actually thought Chris's letter was well written and well thought out. And we voted, I can't remember if we had one person who was away, but we voted unanimously to support the home rule petition. And Stephen Size here, so did advisory. But I'm now thinking, I'm not sure how we would structure it. We could decide, we could re-vote it now, or we could maybe jointly make a motion at town meeting to maybe reject the Article 23 and then either remove or do something, modify the warrant article then if need be. But I don't think we should protest the home rule yet.
I'm in agreement with Jeff. I read Chris Owen's letter. I've voiced this concern before, but then decided to go along with the board. But I think Chris makes some very good points that there's no reason to be doing this year. I know there's issues with being a member of the MBTA that are something we do want to get out of, and Paul's right on that. But I also don't think there's a reason to jeopardize our position for grants and when there's no reason to do it this year.
But I'm going to remind, though, what we said before is that the town meeting is simply authorization. The select board can execute it whenever. They can take 2 years to execute it. So, I mean, and I don't think the actual authorization by the town meeting will affect any grants or anything after that, from what I understand. Yeah, Marianne?
Well, you're probably right, Eric. If we did vote to actually do this, it definitely would affect our ability to get grants. And I talked to Gino about it, and he was very concerned that if it were ever voted in the future, it would hurt our ability to get grants. But obviously, we're not voting it now to actually implement this. But I end up, I was for the motion before, because I think the MBTA Communities Act is just so unlikely to be fulfillable by Sherborn. But I've sort of come around to thinking that there's really no need to do this now. And there are two reasons for that. One is when the citizens hear this, I've had a hard time explaining that they're not really voting to do this. They're just voting that the select board might be able to do this in the future. And then you get the question, well, why are we voting it now? But the second is that citizens hearing about it get easily confused that we're actually voting to withdraw right now. And it's hard to keep it on everyone's mind that it's not actually a vote to withdraw. But the other thing is that, Paul, maybe you can correct me on this, but I started to worry about the optics. This will be a public record. People look at other towns, town meeting votes. And if we do this vote, I'm just afraid that it could filter down to state granting agencies and various people in the state who could just have that negative thing about Sherborn in their minds when it comes to grants from the town. And this may be totally unfounded, but I just feel that maybe we don't have to do this now, and it's safer to wait until we know what we're dealing with the MBTA communities.
Jeff, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I would completely agree with what Marianne just said. And I would add one more point, which is, let's suppose that we do approve this and we don't have to file it, but we're authorized to do it. And then suppose 2 years from now, actually the home rule definitions of what's required could be different. So we could be opposed, we could have authorization to oppose it, but it was based on these kind of ultra stringent rules today, they may not, if the rules are less stringent 2 years from now, they may not want us to file a home rule petition. So we, but we would already have authorized it this year based on this ultra sort of aggressive requirement.
All right.
So it's kind of inconsistent, I think.
I mean, I'm just going to vote my opinion that I don't think there's harm in authorizing it. I don't think anyone's going to look. I don't think a state is going to notice that town meeting actually made an authorization along those lines, to be honest with you. And is simply just that, an authorization. And the open town meeting form of government is the least flexible form of government. Even the MBTA can respond and can enact things faster than we can respond, who basically has town meeting, especially a town the size of Sherborn, once a year. I doubt we would successfully have spend another $15,000 to have whatever it is, another special town meeting, just to be able to respond to something that MBTA may say 6 months from now. So I still support it. Paul, what's your thoughts?
So I want to make a couple of points. First, the warrant article is being misconstrued. The way it's written is authorizing us to do a variety of things. It's not just about withdrawing from the MBTA. That's a component of it, but it also allows us to do other things to exempt us from requirements under the statute. So there is complete flexibility for the board. The issue that I was expecting was, gee, we're giving a lot of authority to the board to pick and choose what they decide to do. I think we need that authority. So we're not locked into any particular course. I mean, we're not locked into a particular remedy. We can address, if we have this authority, we can address the circumstances at the time we decide to use this. Secondly, I think we need to communicate with the voters the enormity of what's being asked to us. We're being asked to essentially have the planning board and the town planner and ultimately town meeting get engaged in the process of selecting areas in the town of up to 50 acres where we're going to permit as of right multifamily housing. The amount of that housing is 750 dwelling units. We have a total of like 1,500 dwelling units in the town. So that means increasing the population of the town by 50% with housing that's not quite consistent with the way the community's character is. So it's a very dramatic change. It's a huge ask of this town. The reason why we want to have the authority is that comments were requested to be filed by March 31st. Those are come and gone. And all the comments that were filed are very polite and very rational and very complimentary to the state on this requirement that has all kinds of useful advantages statewide and so on and so on. But here it is such a harm to this community that I think simply accepting it for the time being doesn't send a message strong enough. And being able to say to the state that this requirement in this form is really completely unacceptable to us. I think that's where the voters will come out on this. It is completely unacceptable. So why would we not want to say that when there's a chance that that statement alone might cause them to have some second thoughts? Instead, if we let's go along with this and we work on it and we have meetings and so on, you're gonna cause a lot of turmoil in the community. A lot of people are gonna be saying, why are you picking my property and my home and my neighborhood as a site for all of this to take place? Put it somewhere else. And then somewhere else is gonna say, no, don't put it over here, put it over there. And it's a divisive issue. It's gonna consume the attention of our planners and others who I hope have real work to do and not get tangled up with this kind of really crazy request of this town. The feedback I'm getting is that the requirement's going to stay. We're going to have to deal with it sooner or later. We might as well be honest and upfront and say this doesn't work for the town in a very clear way. And I think that's what this vote does.
All right, I'd like to hear from Marianne.
Right, Paul, the truth is I'm really on the fence about this. And now hearing your argument again, I remember why I was voting for it before, which I did. But I have a quick question, two questions really. First, what actually is the procedure when you file a home rule petition? And can it be limited to the MBTA Communities Act alone?
Yes.
So that can be made clear. The second thing is, the reason I'm still on the fence is that when you describe the effect that it might have on the decisions of other communities like us, and there are others that I'm certainly having the same kinds of, hair-pulling discussions that we are. Does it make sense for us, if we vote for this, to communicate with other towns like us and encourage them to do the same? Because, there's strength in numbers. And
It does.
so that tends to sway me back in my original position. That's all I
Yeah.
want to say.
Jeff, you're up next.
Yeah, I haven't been swayed back yet. Two things I would say. One is, I don't know how we can expect the citizens to vote on this because we can't even explain what it means, I don't think. Who's going to explain this to them? They'll have no basis to vote on this because they don't really know what they, I'm sure, I guess we get 5 minutes if we have a presenter, but we would have to describe, what the requirements of this regulation would be. And I view the odds of this actually being approved in this form applied to small towns like Sherborn is effectively nil. You're not going to find developers that want to put 850 houses in Sherman. We can't even find one now to help us build affordable housing. So I view the odds of this happening. So we could risk scaring the citizens and saying, this is coming down and get ready for it. I don't think that's likely to happen. I think it'll get modified. So we risk creating a big to-do, and they really have no basis to vote on this because they don't really know what they're voting on, I don't think. I don't know what we're voting on. So I'm not necessarily opposed to what Paul said, but I don't think there's any value to us utilizing this request that we're making on Article 23.
Jeff, if I could.
Can
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
speak? Can I?
I think
Well-
George was first, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
George is next, but I mean, I'll leave it to you, Jeff, since it's kind of you have the floor. Do you want to hear Paul's response, or do you want us to go on, or do you want to hear Paul's response to what you said?
Well, I
No,
want to
let me-
hear both, but I don't, unless,
I'll go on to George. I'll go to George, and
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's going to be
then
all
Paul can
concerns,
probably,
and Paul's
Paul's gonna
respond to
want to
everybody.
respond to what I say too, so we can give Paul a chance to. Because I'm with Jeff. I have changed my mind on this. I really don't think we should be voting for this. I'd like to revote because it's very telling, and one of the things that Paul made for an argument here was we're putting a lot on our planning board and our planner. Our planning board and our planner are the ones asking us not to vote on this. I think we need to take their advice. They're the ones that are most affected by this, and they're saying, please don't do this yet. So I think we need to listen to Gino and Chris Owen and our planning board and not do this. It's as simple as that.
that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, Paul, do you want to respond to both Marianne and George's concerns?
Yes. What's one to deal with first? I think the point I want to make is that at this point, it's on the warrant. It's been voted by both the select board and the advisory. And the notion that town meeting should now vote no on it sends, I think, exactly the wrong message. It tells us that we are not in favor of this kind of statement, and therefore that we're going to be complying. And so it'd be very hard later to have a credible basis to go forward where we've played along with the process and we've worked with it. I have great respect for Gino. I have great respect for Chris Owen. These are great people, and love to follow their advice whenever I can. But I think sending the message of an article that's defeated is completely wrong.
Well, I guess,
My biggest
So-
issue was that we brought this up last minute, and this was an issue, and we're still trying to vet it out. Paul brought it up the week before we had our public hearing, and this is the problem with these late articles. We're still debating it. You know, we didn't have time to vet it, and now we're getting time to vet it and hear from our planning board, and they're saying, please don't do this yet. And I think we need to respect them with that because they're the ones most affected by it.
all right, I mean, the only thing I'll say, and just, looking at the letter again, it talked about, it may reduce chances of discretionary grants. And it talked about how we have through December 2024. To me, the December 2024 is more kind of a compelling. But, I'm still concerned by the fact that one, we only have annual town meetings. And two, by the time it takes to get something into the actual legislature through the general court and through whatever subcommittees, I mean, that could be a year anyway. And I still see us just as an authorization. I don't think an authorization, and maybe it's misunderstanding of the planning board themselves. I mean, I read the letter. I actually agree with the letter, but I don't know how you put a slight tap on the brakes on an annual town meeting. We either do it now, we do it in 2023, which gives us 9 months to actually have special legislation passed before it actually becomes effective. Yes, it may change, yes or not, but we're making predictions on that. And this is nothing but an authorization. So I do respect now, I will agree that the select board do not move forward with this until we get buy-in from the planning board. That I'm fine with. I get reminded of it. This is nothing but authorization. It's authorization for the select board to then go ahead and put forth the what do you call it? The special legislation, a home rule petition, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And there we can actually work with the planning board to make sure we're not doing it. And maybe the planning board doesn't quite get that, where it's like that this is not actually passing it. It's just authorizing us so we can respond quickly, because nothing is slower than a small town's open town meeting form of government. Marianne?
Except for the Massachusetts legislature.
Exactly. I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
And the federal legislature.
Right, yeah. Usually when we put forth the articles at town meeting, I mean, the few that I've put forth, we did months of public information sessions to make sure people really understood what they were voting for. And we haven't done that with this. A lot of people will not understand. And I was going to say, I think Paul would do an excellent job of presenting it, and everything he says would be correct and right on target. But I'm just afraid, it's so hard to get the citizenry at large to really listen to exactly what you're saying when they hear it only once. And so I'm concerned, I'm still on the fence, obviously, but I'm concerned that it's going to be very tricky. It's a big job, Paul, to present this at town meeting such that everybody totally understands that we're not going to do anything now. If we did decide in the future to exercise our right to do this under the town meeting vote, what further steps would be necessary? would we have to take it back to planning board? Would we have to get the citizens? We would just do it, right? There's no other control.
This gives us the total control.
Right.
So I have no problem with Eric's suggestion of saying that we won't exercise this without the consent of the planning board.
That would help.
I-
Because I think people will be concerned about giving us that much control.
George, did you have something to add?
I was just gonna make a motion that we vote to change our position on this article.
Okay, that's good, because I was actually gonna mention that the first vote should be a vote to agree to actually change our position. The next one should be if it passes, then the vote of the actual article itself.
So I would second George's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marianne,
I,
George,
Aye.
and Paul,
No,
and I am nay as well. Okay, I have a feeling we have a second motion coming on.
I move that we vote to not support what article number is this? Article,
23, George.
Article 23. I move that we vote to no action on Article 23.
To not endorse, let's say, or not support. I think not support.
I
is good.
move that we vote to recommend no action on Article 23.
So just to clarify for one, a yay vote is kind of a negative vote. A yay vote in this
Yep.
will mean we don't support. A nay vote will mean actually we support the article. So
Right.
just to clarify, because I love double negatives.
I know, and I would second George's motion again.
Okay, all in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marianne, I was muted.
Marion, you're muted.
It's yeah. Do you want to explain the double negative again, Eric? I
Yes,
don't know.
it's, I'll explain it again. It's, if you vote yay, you're saying we do not support the article.
yeah, I get it. But how is this different from the last motion?
The last motion was to reopen the voting on this article.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now it's the actual vote, and the motion is to not support, just as George indicated. So a yay vote is negative. You don't like Article 23.
Right.
A nay vote means keep moving ahead.
And I really have to decide, huh?
I can keep going. America, I'm going to keep going because you were the swing vote. So I'll just come
Yes.
back. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
George,
we know
how do
how
you
everybody
vote?
else.
George, how do you vote on this? To
Oh,
not
I
support?
vote yay, aye, sorry.
Yeah, to not support. Paul, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote no, and if I could just tell Marion that if this vote is defeated, I will make a motion to amend our position to include consent of the planning board with regard to the actual filing of the home rule petition.
Okay, and I'm gonna vote nay as well. So I know it didn't make it easier for us. It's confirming for you, Marianne. That's actually not to put the pressure on, but that's why it's an odd number. Mhm.
Well, if we vote nay, how can we amend it? We will have not, we will have decided not to,
I guess that's
Paul's
true.
gonna he can make another motion.
Yeah. So basically,
The
yeah, I
only
guess.
thing is, the language, we would have to make a motion on the floor because the language
Yeah.
of the article doesn't include what Paul's suggesting we add.
Yeah. So Paul,
Yeah,
the motion would
it'd
actually be,
have to be a motion on the floor.
yeah. You have to have a language ahead of time.
It wouldn't be something we could do tonight.
we could propose it as an amendment on the floor at town meeting.
But to do that, I
Yeah.
think we have to vote down the article, don't we? As,
No, the amendments are voted first.
okay,
On this,
I was talking to Mary Wolf about that earlier today, just
oh,
because
good.
I
Right,
think
that was just
is gonna
part
have an
I-
amendment to one of the articles, and the amendments get voted first, and then you can vote on the amended article.
Yeah, okay.
That's right, and that brilliant thought was not mine, it was Steve's eyes in the chat, and I think it's a good idea.
Oh, I didn't even look at the chat. Okay, good. Hopefully he does the same for advisory.
So the idea is I'd make a motion,
Well,
if this motion is defeated, I'd make a motion that we go forward with the article with an amendment to be proposed on the floor of town meeting.
Okay, then with the motion that's already on the floor and it has had 3 votes already, 3 nay votes, as I recall.
No, we've had
We're
two
split.
yay votes and 2 nay votes.
We,
It's up to
we
you.
defeated that motion. I think Paul's
To-
making
to
a new one.
recommend no- We're recommending no action. That's what the motion is on the table.
Okay, so I vote yay on that, knowing that another motion is coming along.
Okay, so Paul, do you want to make,
So we've actually now, we're now recommending to the town to take no action by a vote of 3-2, is how that vote just went.
I know, I don't think Marion intended that.
No, I didn't.
You can
No.
change, I mean, that's fine. I think you can,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got totally turned around.
I think you meant to support it as support it if it's amended.
yeah.
Yeah, so I vote nay on the no action motion.
And so we've defeated George's motion that I seconded. I think Paul's now making a new motion with this clause about planning board support. Is that right,
Yeah,
Paul?
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
want to add. I'm going to ask the board to vote in favor of taking action on the article as amended with the words "with the approval of the Sherborn Planning Board" after the word authorize the select board.
sure,
I'll second that motion if I'm allowed to, even though I seconded George. I think
Yeah.
Paul's,
and I just want
I
to
think that's
clarify, so when I report the vote on Tuesday, I'm gonna probably report the vote, this final vote. Let's vote on it. Let's vote on
Yes.
it, then don't
Yeah.
worry about it, because, okay, so we have a motion and a second to actually support this article with the amendment,
With an amendment.
Oh,
yeah.
with the support of the Sherman
With the
planning.
approval, not support.
Approval,
with the
approval, okay, approval, yeah, very good. Good.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So all in favor, Jeff,
all right.
Marianne,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
and Paul,
Aye.
and I am I as well. Okay, now, when I report
Look at that,
that,
we all came together and voted together at the end of the day.
that's really good, that's very good.
See, the deal
we're-
is we would have been done at 8 o'clock and we didn't know what to do if we got out at 8 o'clock. So we're delaying.
But the
When I
important thing is
report-
we're respecting the planning board and we're respecting the planner and we're bringing them into the process rather than leaving them out of the process. So they're part of the team and part
Paul,
of
will
the.
you write the motion to, that we're gonna make at town meeting on the floor?
Well, I'll write it before the floor.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. So Mary,
yeah.
and let Mary Wolf know that
Okay.
you're making an amendment to this article.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I'll send something to Eric.
Okay,
uh,
yeah,
Within
I would just make
24
Mary
hours.
aware. Mary would like to be aware of those things beforehand, and Jackie, I assume, so.
Yeah, but before I send it out, I want to be sure that you all don't have something else.
Mhm.
Make sure that I've captured the essence of what we're talking about.
So, and just to clarify, I'm gonna report just this final vote, I'm gonna do the qualification of the amendment. And perhaps that's, or either you or I, Paul, hand the town moderator the amended article. We have to hand it in writing, correct?
Jackie's got her hand up, Eric.
Yeah, Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah, you give it to the town clerk.
Okay, give it to
So
you.
the town clerk gets a copy, yeah, and then I give it to Mary.
Okay,
Yep.
and that's what I'm gonna report on. That's what make that clear, because everything
Uh,
gets confusing. Yeah, Marion?
Yeah.
You can do that yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, one of us, probably Paul, should reach out to planning board, I think, before town meeting to let them know that we made this vote and what the spirit of our vote really is.
It's a good idea.
Okay. So Diane, are you
You
there?
want to reach out to Chris Owen on that?
Yes, all right.
All right. So I think we have a good direction there.
One
So
thing
fin-
here, though, are we still on this article?
Yeah. No, we're still
I-
on the town meeting. Yeah.
Well, on
Agenda.
this article 23, I just want to confirm. So Paul, are you also going to make a presentation to the citizens on this article too? Describing
and
what,
I've asked Gino to talk a little bit about the 750
Uh,
requirement. I
okay,
am very hopeful, by the way, that the 750 requirement will go away
yes,
before town meeting. at which point I may be asking you to change our position to take no action on this because it won't be necessary. There's that hope that the message is getting through to the state that there are communities like Sherborn and converting 50% of our housing and adding all those people. I mean, the impact on the town is so huge.
Absolutely. We all know that we don't support, nobody in town obviously supports that. I mean, that's very clear. It's just a matter, we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot too soon, is I think the point.
Okay, so I think we're in violent agreement.
Yeah, we don't need to, yeah.
Right. So just,
So when we were talking about speaking on articles, I know that was the other thing we wanted to discuss tonight. I'm happy to speak on Articles 17 and 18. I don't need to make a presentation. I'll just speak on both of those, which were the change of the bylaws to the town administrator and finance director.
Yep.
okay.
There's what other ones we have to, what other ones are the select board responsible for that we really,
Well, just to clarify, if something's blank, we can have like the one above you, Board of Assessors. I'm gonna assume that's covered by the Board of Assessors, not in the select board. We don't have to worry about that. Personnel, I mean, that's Personnel Committee. So there's a community center lease. Frank Hook reached out to me and said he had a presentation to give on behalf of the community center. I figured that would kind of be our presentation. Does anyone feel strong that that would cover us? Okay, very good.
I think it's okay, but we're gonna have to think long and hard. You know, I think the lease is something, we're just authorizing us to do it, but
Right.
we don't know yet what the needs for that building might be, particularly with the COA survey out there now.
Yep, I mean, really, he's presenting on behalf of the community center, but it is under the select board.
Yeah,
And he had a presentation ready to go. I think number 23, I'm just gonna put Paul DeRensis.
yep, yep.
and then is Sean, you're on here, right? I assume Sean's dealing with the leases, with the wireless communication leases and who's dealing with the release right title and interest of Obed Lane?
I can. I was hoping the wireless leases weren't going to need really
Yeah.
much discussion, right?
No,
I mean, I
probably,
wasn't going to do a presentation on them.
No, maybe answer questions.
oh yeah,
tell me about it.
be
I
ready
can
to
answer.
answer questions, I guess that would be.
Well,
I can.
You know, the Obed Lane thing, people do get a little confused about that. I think it would be worth, if you would have 5 minutes if you need, it'd be worth just throwing up a map and showing people what we're talking about there.
Yeah, I agree with Marion because there's really two lanes. One is
Right.
on one side of the street and the other is on the other side of the street. You've got to make it clear what side of the street we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
Was that
actually,
Sean or
actually, I think I'm-
Jeannie, did you make that presentation? I see Jeannie's on here too. At advisory, or was it Sean?
I did an advisory. I think Jeannie had prior to that.
Okay.
Why don't we just, it's not too late, Diane, is it, to have a, I mean, I don't want a presentation, just a slide. There's Jeannie.
If you could just send me, I'll have Jeannie send me the map and I'll just load it on my laptop and then we can just put it up when it comes time. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Jeannie's
Jeannie,
on.
Unless I'm mistaken, I thought Mary was gonna have that as part of the consent agenda.
oh, okay.
Oh,
Ah,
Because it's, everybody has approved it. It's not that, if somebody has a question, it can be easily explained, but I think she has that as part of the consent agenda.
along with the
Okay.
leases,
Pardon me?
along with the
Along with the-
leases,
yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Great.
I
Right.
think so.
Okay.
So it would take a hold to even
Yeah.
need to answer any questions, right?
Right.
It
So
would
as
take
long
a
as
whole
we're
big
prepared
act.
to throw up a map if we need to.
We'll
then
be
that's
prepared.
Right.
Perfect.
I'd like to hear from Jackie.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a comment that one of the residents from Opid Lane had already called my office a few days ago and asked about that article. And I explained to him that it was across the street and that it wasn't, he was concerned something was going to happen with his resident. So, yeah, so hopefully the question won't be raised at town meeting, but he already called and I explained it to him.
Is there any issue with some of the consent agenda items? I think are majority, and this one requires 2/3. I guess if it all gets 2/3,
That's a
it's no big
question
deal.
for Mary, I think.
Yeah. So just so people know that this one does require 2/3. It wouldn't surprise me if it got a hold just to make me being confused. So just to reiterate, people said maybe be ready with a map and just answer a few questions. This one might complicate the consent, to be honest with you. The rest of them, I get to see someone like having an issue with it, whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, Sean can answer questions and have a map, just to clarify so I can fill in my blank.
I can answer the question about the consent agenda process.
Okay.
That's based on unanimous consent.
Okay.
Right.
Anybody can hold it. So it doesn't matter whether it's a 2/3 vote or even a 9/10 vote for unpaid bills or an 80% vote at annual town meeting for unpaid bills. It's based on unanimous. There's nobody who's going to make a hold.
Stephen Sy is writing in the chat that it is just a majority vote. It's not a 2/3 because the town doesn't own the land. It's just an easement.
I'm not sure that's right. We can talk offline, but I've dealt with easements hundreds of times. And because it is an interest in property, that at least in my day job, we've
Okay.
always needed 2/3 votes.
You know, I think enough people know where Obed Lane is, at least the Obed Lane that's actually used as Obed Lane, that we could just save ourselves a lot of headache if we just do a short presentation on this, do it separately, show the map, explain what it is, and take a separate vote.
I mean, I'll leave it up to the moderator. Maybe if there's a hold, be ready for it, but I don't want to step on the moderator's toes. You know what I mean? If she wants to,
Okay,
she
yeah,
wants to do it, I feel a little, if there's a hold, then the ball game's off there. But I agree to have something ready. Yeah, Paul?
Can I ask a question of Jackie? What is the consent agenda item for town meeting? How many, what are the articles that are being included in the consent agenda?
What
Can
are
you
the
tell-
articles? Let's say, I don't have it right off the top of my head. I have it on my computer. Let's see. I think 1 through 8 are consent agendas, and that's just like the normal stuff that we always do. 19 and 20 are the personnel and admin plan and Juneteenth. Those are both consent. I believe that those are consent agendas. The ones that you guys mentioned about the leases, those, I believe that those are consent agendas as well.
Does that include the Sherborn Community Center?
Let me double check. I started working on the certifications already, but
So there's 2 Verizon leases and there's the community center lease. So there's 3 articles. Are they all 3?
Well, there's actually three wireless communication leases and then 2 Verizon easements.
And the 2 Verizon. So those 5 articles are on the consent agenda, hopefully.
Plus the OBED, we think maybe.
does anybody remember what?
well, Steve has.
Steven
it
just
in the
inserted
chat.
something. 1 through
Oh,
8,
does he have
11,
it?
13, 14, 19, 20, 25, 20, to 30.
Yeah.
All right.
Steven says 1 through 8, 11. Got it.
All right. Well, I mean, either way, I'm fine with, I'm not gonna tell the moderator or Stephen how to do their thing. And if there's a hold, there's a hold. Like Paul said, it's based on unanimous. If someone holds on something, just be ready to speak about it.
Yep.
I think the whole point of this thing is, putting Sean on the hook. Sorry.
Sean will answer any questions that anybody has on any article. Right, Sean?
Yes. They might wish they didn't ask, but
I know.
I'll definitely have an answer.
And I'm certainly ready to whatever. So there is one thing I do want to bring up. I alluded to the beginning. I got a little confused at the beginning of all this. Actually, Paul, Jackie, do you still have something to say, or?
No,
your
I
hands
just
raised
wanted,
up?
yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say, I can speak to Mary if you guys want that particular article to be taken off the consent agenda. I can speak to her tomorrow about it and ask her.
Please don't.
Yeah,
No?
I think it's kind of like, if
Okay,
it passes consent, it passes consent. And we'll be ready if
Okay.
it doesn't. There's kind of no reason not to.
Okay.
We're not looking to make a debate about it unless, someone correct me if I'm wrong. We're not looking to make We support it. We've looked at it a couple times now. We're at advisory and looked at it. I think as a board, we're pretty unanimous in it. And I don't think there's any reason to complicate it, but
Okay,
Jeannie?
I think both boards looked at it twice.
Yeah.
And both unanimous vote.
And it is written, she did put it as part of her moderator section in the advisory committee report, so everybody's gonna have a heads up that it's there and what it's about, so.
Okay. Good. All right. I think we beat that one up. We know what direction we're going there. But I do want to talk about, because I do think, as we said, it's within the scope of this agenda item. And I thought it's what Jeff was initially talking about. So on agenda item number 32, I should say Article 32, the zoning citizens petition. This board gave a non-conclusive vote, 2-1-2, based on 2 abstaining because it was not a hearing done with the planning board. The planning board has actually on Tuesday held a hearing on this article, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was 4-0 to not support after holding a duly noted public hearing, the citizen petition on the zoning. So do we want to further that discussion now? Do we want to reconsider our vote? I just want to have a brief discussion on it and engage the feeling of the board, particularly the 2 people, myself included, who gave an abstaining vote based on no hearing having been held at yet. I think you all understand what I'm saying. Yeah, Paul?
A question.
Yeah.
I had heard talk that there was going to be an amendment to this article. Did the planning board vote on an amended article, or they just voted on what's in the warrant? Is there going to be an
Only
amendment?
vote what's in the warrant because it's a citizen's petition. And the motion on the floor from advisory is going to be no action. So that no action has to be defeated before an amendment can even be proposed. Just so you're clear on the procedure here. The first motion is going to be no action. Not going to be any amendments before that.
But have we received an amendment?
We haven't.
I have not.
Voted against this thing and everybody else has voted against this thing. I don't know why we would even consider voting for it.
Well, honestly, I want to address George's current, because this board had an inconclusive vote. Officially, this board did not vote for it or against it. And that's why I'm bringing up. Frankly, if it was a vote one way or the other, I wouldn't. But it's 2 of us, myself included, who abstained based on not having held the hearing yet. And so that's why I'm bringing up now. I want to hear from Jackie, please. Go ahead.
okay, yeah, sorry. I know that Rebecca Honeywell has been in contact with Mary and was asking about doing an amendment, but we have not received anything yet.
Yeah, so I to George's point, I do want to hold it at the article as it is before us and as it was held a hearing of the planning board. Yeah, Stephen?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Paul's question, which was that the planning board was presented with the amended language. And so their 4-0 vote against, was including the amended language.
Then that could actually answer my question then. So maybe we don't make a vote. We can't change our vote because we don't have the amended language before us. And so we can't actually redo our vote based on, admittedly, I joined the hearing.
I'm going to make a motion to reaffirm our vote because I think we should consider the Board of Health unanimously voted against this with one of their members of the Board of Health, the one who proposed it. The other ones all voted against it. The planning board voted unanimously against it. The advisory committee voted unanimously against it. So why would we be divided on this? I don't know why we would be the only ones out there supporting this.
Yeah, we weren't really, we were just almost delaying because we didn't hear.
Right, right. I understand that, but I'm
Didn't have the
saying
hearing.
now we have that information. Everybody was worried about the planning board hearing. They've had they voted against it. So I'm making a motion to reaffirm our vote.
And I second that motion.
I do want to hear from Mary Ann. She had her hand raised before the motion.
I was just anxious to second that motion.
Sorry, I was rude.
And Stephen, do you have something to comment or is your hand up? Okay, hand raised before. So I want to clarify because there's always one of those double negative things. Your motion is to not support. So a yay or yes vote.
No, my first motion again is to.
To open, to reconsider the vote. Okay. A motion and a second to reconsider the vote. All in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And I might as well. Okay, does anyone else
And
have?
now I'll
no-
make a motion that we recommend no action on the citizens article, whatever number it is, 31, I think.
I think it's 32.
Oh, shoot. No,
32. Yep.
yeah, 32. That we recommend no action on Article 32.
And I would second that motion also.
Okay, all in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Marianne,
Aye.
George,
Aye. and
Paul.
I'm voting aye on the basis of what's printed in the warrant.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any amendment. I have no idea about
I
that.
agree.
So I'm not making any judgment about that.
And I'll say, before I say this, I'll say, even though the planning board's hearing was perhaps on an amended article, my reservation, I'm saying last time, was the fact that I had not gone through the due process of having the hearing. It has at least gone through a due process, even if it isn't amended. So I am going to vote aye as well on this. Okay, very good.
And
I think that-
one other tiny correction there is Rebecca wasn't allowed, the Board of Health voted 4-0 to take no action. And Rebecca had to abstain because she was a proponent.
That makes perfect sense. Seems appropriate. Okay, I told them we'll be done by 9. That's okay.
I said 8.
So-
Come on.
I know. Okay, we seem to have polished off everything. Is there anything relative to the town meeting that can be held on broadly under this agenda item? If I don't think so, okay.
Are we meeting
or-
early before?
Not
That
so
was my
fast,
question.
Yes,
Yeah,
we're
so-
posted before town meeting. We are. I think I posted a half hour before the start of town meeting.
That's 6:30, is that
I
right?
believe so, yeah. I'll send the
Okay.
agenda out.
We usually meet this in the cafeteria, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
makes sense. Oh yeah, Marianne?
I do have one more thing about town meeting. You know that the CDC and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health is recommending masks indoors because rates of COVID are going up again in the states, in our state and elsewhere. So I think we have to decide whether we're going to require a mask in town meeting. And
So how was that decided last time? That's between the Board of Health and moderator, correct? Yeah, Jackie?
Jackie's got her hand up.
Yeah,
All right,
Yeah,
Jack-
Jackie.
okay, this is my wheelhouse. Okay, you cannot mandate masks
That's right.
at elections, and town meeting is considered an election. So what I have done is I've posted in the newspaper that masks are recommended but not required. I made up signs that we'll have outside. I have masks, I've got wipes, and I have hand sanitizer, just like we used before, in case people want to use them. But you cannot mandate masks, because if you turn someone away and then the vote is off by 1, we're in trouble. So it's infringing on a person's right to vote. So, but I will have masks available, and I have signs up. And as I said, I put it in the Hometown Weekly, masks are recommended, but not required.
Okay.
That's the only thing we can do. I'll be wearing one.
No, we've talked about the last 2 town meetings. It was a little
Yeah.
different at the last 2 town meetings. There was still a general Board of Health, call it mandate or whatever you want to call it, for
No.
indoor public buildings. So that
No,
does not exist right now.
no, that is not correct.
No, actually, Jackie, hold on one second before I
Okay,
interrupt.
sorry.
There was a mandate to have those in the thing. Now, we actually talked about it several times, and we talked exactly what you said. You can't blah, blah, blah. You can't prohibit one's right to vote. We had all separate seating outside. We had the thing in the garage and so on and so forth. But it still is different now in the sense that you might not get that uniform kind of compliance, because there is you're likely to get less compliance than you were before, because there simply was not that Board of Health mandate that there is now in the public buildings. As a matter of fact, so where before people kind of were team players and wore masks, you simply just, may not get that same thing now. So it's just basically a matter of fact in there. Obviously, we cannot mandate in town meeting. Everyone knows that. This is the 3rd or 4th or 5th time we've talked about it. But I just want to note to everyone, don't expect everyone to wear masks.
no,
Well, can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Is there going to be separate seating for the people who are masked and the people who are unmasked?
No,
you still
I
could do
can't do that. I can't because we're in a different world right now,
Mm.
you know, because there's no mask mandate in general. So the only way that I could do it before and to try to make the Board of Health happy was to separate people out. And I can't do that this time. I don't, I suppose, I don't know, maybe I could, but I think that's a tricky situation.
You could, but it would be a logistic challenge.
You
Yeah,
would not
I wouldn't
believe,
ask that of you, Jackie. I think
we are just
make
getting,
their own decisions. If
bum-
people want to be protected, they can wear a mask.
we're just getting
Lots of
bombarded.
evidence that one-way masking works. If people are worried, they can wear a mask.
We still have a lot of issues with people and the political climate is really crazy, and you would not believe what comes across my desk. So
Mhm.
I think that we'd be asking for a lot of trouble. by
People
doing
can
it.
also sit further apart, you know, people can wear a mask if they want to, and they can also sit, you
Mhm.
know, in that part of the auditorium that's above the, you know,
Right,
the
I
back,
mean-
the very back or somewhere.
The auditorium's big, and our normal, before pre-COVID, our last two meetings, we had 219 people both
Yeah.
years.
And I do want
So-
to, remind the board that really when it comes to how to conduct in town meeting, and particularly wearing
Yeah.
masks, this board probably has the least authority of almost any voted board in the entire town. It's great for a discussion. We can talk about it. We can set expectations. But you know, yeah,
The only thing I would add though is be
it's nothing but an
careful.
exercise.
I talked to a colleague at Yale New Haven Hospital this morning. They're at their peak number of patients as they were the peak before at Yale New Haven. So there is a surge out there right now.
I'll be wearing mine. I've been wearing mine, and the people around me are getting COVID, and I'm like,
Yeah,
stay out of my office. I can't get sick. Town meeting and elections coming up. So,
yep, yep.
and there'll only be two people on advisory, Amanda and myself, and then you guys up. If you all don't want to be on the stage now, then now's the time to tell me. Right now, the last time you guys voted that you all wanted to be up on stage. So there'll be 5 of you on one section of the stage, and then the other section of the stage on the other side will be Stephen Tsai, Amanda and I, and Mark Albers. So.
All right, Marion, you had a comment?
Well, I think just to Jackie, having masks available at the door kind of sends a message that we're aware that.
And signs. I'll have signs up.
All right. Is there anything else relative to, I guess, town meeting? Another broad thing here from this board. All right. Does anyone here, just because Jackie mentioned it, want to reconsider 5 members up in the stage, or keep the vote as it was?
I'd keep it the way it is. If anybody, we get to town meeting and somebody doesn't want to sit on the stage, I'm certainly not going to go and grab them by their arm and drag them up and make them sit. That's.
The only thing I asked is that in the past when we've sat up there, because we had all full, whatever it is, like 7 or 9, members of advisory on the other side, we were shoulder to shoulder. Maybe there could be a little bit more spacing on this next one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It won't be, because it'll be 5 of you on one side of the screen, on the left side of the stage, and 4 of us on the other side of the stage.
We'll have a lot more space than we usually do.
There'll be a lot more space. It's only
Yep.
2 advisory members, not all 9 of them.
We're technically stage right.
Yeah.
All right. So all that being said, I think we're done with agenda item number 4. I'd like to move on unless anyone has a problem with it. Doesn't sound like you do. And thank you very much, Jackie, for your input there.
You're welcome.
On to routine business. Any select board reports?
Marion, do you think should we give a quick summary of our meeting that we had last week? Do you want to, or should I?
I'm happy to. You can.
Okay,
Whatever. Shall I
go
do it?
ahead, Marion.
George and I met with the COO of Framingham, which I guess is like a town administrator. Eric, you can tell me, and with the
Interim DPW director.
interim DPW director. The DPW director, who had been in the negotiations with Pulte previously, is no longer there, I believe. at least the two guys that we met with in Framingham Town Hall knew less about this than we did. I mean, they were really, we were educating them, to our great surprise, on what had happened so far on the basis of the documents that Diane has been able to dig out for us, and on the basis of things that she's gotten from Mark, I think, at Pulte. So we sort of went over the basics of what the IMA with Framingham was about, and the problems of pursuing a water district in Sherborn. We let them know that we still had footwork to do, legal footwork to do, with a lawyer to explore how best to form and run a water district in North Sherborn, and how best to limit it to what we want it limited to, which is the two developments that now we hope might still happen, hopefully. So I would say the meeting was very congenial, and
I think they were very receptive to us getting water from them. They didn't really have any concern about it. They said, as long as we can show that it doesn't affect any flow to our hydrants in that area of the city, then we're more than happy to provide it. I mean, if it's a revenue source for them, it's going to cost them nothing. Like they said, as long as it doesn't affect their existing service, they were amenable to it.
Right. So on May 6th, we have a meeting with Natick, which I think will be maybe a little more substantial, because it's going to involve two select board members, their DPW, their town administrator. And that, of course, is regarding the sewer connection. We're still trying to gather documents that none of us had access to before. And we have enough documents now that I think we have enough to talk to them about. But this first meeting, again, is just going to be, make the contact, an exploratory meeting. But as we go forward, there are a couple things we're going to need to do. One is we need counsel on this, and it can't be Petrini. We had Greg Corbo from KP Law. We've decided that we really need a counsel that's a little more focused on what we're trying to do.
Responsive. That's a council that responds to emails.
You couldn't get Darren, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a couple of names of good possibilities from Chris Petrini, who people that he thinks would be very good at negotiating an IMA. So we do need to contact a lawyer and start those conversations just on the Sherborn side to get a handle on how best to set up a water district. No matter where the water is coming from, we're going to have a water district, and we'll have a lot of legal issues to wade through there. So we'll see how the talk with Natick goes on the sewer. We hope that we'll get a better update on where the talks actually stood when Pulte pulled out. And that'll be at the end of next week.
All right, so I see this select board report is actually turning into discussion when people want to speak on it. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to actually administer this discussion.
Okay. Well, I think Paul had his hand raised before I did, so I recognize Paul.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. I just want to repeat the caution that I said before, that with regard to potentially our having to create 750 houses, one of the restrictions that might work for us is not having any water or sewer capability in our septic systems and Title V and all of that stuff. That might actually prevent 750 housing units to be built. So it is critical that this water district be of such a form that it in fact protects us and doesn't have us ending up authorizing 750 houses to be crammed into limited space. So I want to repeat that caution. B, I want to see if I can help in any way with regard to getting you the right attorney. I know most of the practitioners in this area. If you want to share with me at some point offline
Okay.
who you're thinking
We,
about.
we can do that, Paul. And the good
Yeah,
thing about the water
definitely.
district, that's down the road of forming it. And, you know, that's something that's gonna have to go to town meeting vote. So that's a piece that's down the road, and we totally agree with you. We would never jeopardize that. What we're trying to do is meet our 10% requirement by doing this, not open ourselves up to this other mandate, which we did discuss that with them, and they were like, we can't imagine that the state's gonna require a town like Sherborn. Like Framingham has no issue with it because they pretty much have it already, that many units close to a
Right.
train station. But, and they were like, can't imagine that they would actually require a town, like, it's just so unreasonable that somebody's gonna step up and say, this can't happen. And I'm confident in that. So I don't
Yeah,
want to scare people all the time saying we need to build 750 units, because I really don't think in all practicality that's ever gonna happen.
And Paul, that was totally on my mind the whole time because I was worried about the MBTA Act as you are. But if making some steps forward on this will help us to maybe lure Baystone or a comparable developer back to take over that 40B development, then that would be a plus. So we're proceeding gingerly, and we really recognize the fact that this cannot be a Sherburne owned water district. It has to be owned by a
Private
a
developer.
water authority, a private water authority that's limited only to a certain area, and it would have to be those developments. So we'll see how that, but we would love to have your thoughts on legal counsel.
Yes, we will reach out to you once we have the names, Paul.
And I was just going to recognize myself next. Are you finished, Paul? Did you get?
Yes,
that-
oh, yes,
yeah.
I agree with what they both said.
So
Thanks.
my only input is pretty obvious, which I think you already know, but I think it's more important to focus on Natick for the simple reason that Framingham can do this anytime they want because they're a city, but Natick would have to go to their Natick town meeting to approve it. So we would have to, we've obviously missed this year's town meeting, but if some towns have 2 meetings, I think Natick sometimes does, but
Natick usually does.
yeah, but we would have to be sensitive that they have to have more lead time than Framingham does probably to get it done.
Yeah, we had a meeting scheduled in the beginning of April,
Yeah.
but their board changed over, so they rescheduled
Yeah,
us. So
Yeah,
Mary
they're
and I are both pushing to get this
yeah.
both places.
No, I'm very appreciative, and I'm sure Frank Jenkins is too of what you're doing. So thank you for
Yeah,
doing
we
it.
met with him on Saturday, so.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. He called me like for months on end. So I'm very glad you guys are both doing it.
All right, is that it for select board reports? Is there another select board report?
Just to encourage people, we still have a couple weekends left of the Sherburne Picks Up. I know Catherine Rocchio was on here very briefly, but I think she'd appreciate a quick shout out to anybody that can get out there and clean up. I'm hoping to on Saturday with my kids because this end of Whitney Street's a mess, so.
One thing I was going to add is also they are having the library fair this year, and it will be on May 7th, and it'll be at Jameson Field as it has been for the last couple of years. So it's guaranteed to rain that day, but that's when that's when the
It has
library.
for the last
I-
18 years I've lived here.
I say that drought-stricken counties in Africa should arrange for us to schedule a library fair for them. But it's on anyway. It's on May 7th.
Yep.
Very good.
Field, I think, right?
Correct.
Okay, any other select board reports? How about you, Diane? Any town administrator reports?
No, I don't have anything tonight, Eric.
Okay, very good. Any final comments as we close the meeting? How about a motion? Okay, motion to adjourn by George. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Jeff,
All right.
Mary Ann,
I
George,
Aye.
and Paul?
Have a great weekend. Aye.
You
I might
too.
as well. I think I see you next at town meeting. So
Yeah, see you next week.
I know,
See you then.
6:30 on Tuesday.
I dropped 12 pounds. Does it fit into my suit?
Wow. Okay, that's good.
See you then. I'm
Ciao.
going. Thanks, everyone.